Payday 2 is a top 5 game for me. There's no way to put it. Out of the hundreds of games that I have played in my lifetime, Payday 2 remains in the upper 5. Its unique gameplay and the core memories that I've made with it are held so near and dear to my heart. And I've owned and played Payday 2 since its release back in 2013. But I didn't start on my computer. I started now my 12-year Payday journey back on the Xbox 360, which I obviously don't have footage for, but that's where it all began. If anyone here was on the 360 grind too, then you'll know that the console itself was special. For me though, it wasn't just the console, but the time in my life. Probably the most degenerative summer I have ever had. I was a 4th grader playing Halo Reach and Payday 2 till like 4 a.m. back-to-back nights. I was the kid sitting on his bed chowing down on those candy apple sucker thingies, heisting from dusk to dawn, just downing an entire bag of those sweet treats. And I mean, it was hard not to. My little brain was so consumed by this game. It was like the OG gotcha game, but without all the microtransactions. Just straight dopamine production via every money bag being stacked in the van, every end screen with the numbers going up, every new system that I was learning, and the variety in base game heists. I was running every heist I could. Then all of a sudden, I discovered that you could stealth these too? That was such a game changer. It was like unlocking a second level of consciousness. I couldn't believe this was a thing. I thought it was fake, unintentional. How could the devs miss this? Then my friend showed me how it's done, soloing the initial bank and blowing my frickin' mind. I knew this game was something special. But how the hell does someone so young catch wind of the Payday franchise? Oh man, it brings a tear to my eye because I used to be such a fanboy for these guys. But I was introduced to the Payday franchise via one of my favorite content creators, Uber Haxer Nova, along with The Creatures, the foundational goats of internet group houses and funny shenanigans. Their videos and my heisting group of 2 friends and 1 random online dude sparked a 12-year and still going heister. And look, my Steam hours don't reflect it, but I have thousands of hours across 360, Xbox One, and PC. I have met so many people through this game and was able to get every one of my friends back in the day to try it. And let me just say, when Crime Wave finally came to consoles, me and the boys were eating good on Christmas Day. Now, what's with all the setup here? What's with this background story? Well, I'm not saying all of this because I want to tell you my story. I'm telling you this for the sake of my background with the franchise, to contextualize my feelings for the game, because I mean it when I say I have been heisting for 12 years. I've seen all of the sweeping changes, all of the new systems, the new heists, the trailers, the new characters, the collabs, the things that have been removed, the dev updates on YouTube. I have seen this game from its humble beginnings to now. And it's a completely different game, but in a good way. It had this, metamorphosis that turned out to be fantastic. Year 2025, and it all paid off-ish, super-ish, in retrospect. And Payday 2 is still here to this day. This thing is run and made on diesel, and it's still kicking strong. Hell, it has more players than this damn thing, and that's because Payday 2 is timeless. I see it akin to that of a Left 4 Dead or a Garry's Mod. It's one of those rare golden games that's supported by its community. It's like a beautiful loop where the devs set up the initial pieces, and once they were knocked down, it was the players that set it back up. So Payday 2 is great. The franchise is ending on a high, right? Well, that's what I came here to discuss, and no, I'm not sure what your expectations are, but I did not make this video to shit all over Payday 3 or bring up the controversial new subscription model for Payday 2. I promise you, talking about that is like throwing more salt in an already infected, gaping, horrific, life-ending wound. Plus, you can go find like hundreds of videos, talking about doom and gloom for Payday 3 elsewhere. Anyways, the franchise, what the hell is going on with it? Well, just over 3-ish years ago, a prospective new entry to the Payday franchise was announced. It was, like a trailer, release trailer. Fans of the series knew that a 3rd Payday game has been in development for some time now. Rumors of it spreading well over 7 years ago. And while Payday 2 is fantastic in every way, Payday 3 aimed to target new and returning players who dropped off the heisting wagon and were eager to come back into a fresh, less overwhelming game and start over. Now, before anything is said, I was having a shower thought when deciding how to outline this video. And if you've seen my previous videos, then you'll know that I used to be a ginormous Destiny fanatic. And I wanted to draw a bit of a correlation in communities and games here. Create some setup, if you will. See, Destiny right now, for a lot of people, they are begging for a Destiny 3 because Destiny 2 is getting stale, boring. The systems within the game just aren't cutting it anymore. The pushback though, and this is the side that I fall on, is that Destiny Destiny 2 is a 7-year-old game. There is so much content in it that hitting the reset button and abandoning all of that content would be insane. So much loot, history, activities, planets just vanish. Look, I don't think it would work. The potential concept of a Destiny 3 sounds insanely awesome, but I think in reality, a Destiny 3 on release would feel like 20% of what current Destiny 2 is. I personally believe that instead of making a new Destiny, they just need to bring life and make huge reconstructional changes to the current systems. I think you can probably imagine where this correlation is headed. But the Payday franchise was in a very similar boat. See, Payday 2 has amassed such a large amount of content, so many heists, even variations of and within those heists, so many different complex systems that have been built on for over a decade, so many DLC packs, weapons added, perk trees, skill overhauls, endgame improvements, environments that are insanely expansive, enemy variety, different difficulty settings, characters, currencies, the list goes on. All of that, everything mentioned before, and I mean everything that I have talked about up in this video up until this point was the expectations for Payday 3. An enormous uphill battle, but with the promise of a multi-year developmental process and 50 million euros, roughly $58.6 million in US currency. That was the budget. Early reviews were extremely promising, but content-wise, it was looking a little weird. It was pretty clear that systems were missing, but we weren't entirely sure which ones. Call it copium, call it faith, but me and many others were still excited for the Payday 3 train. But well, then it released, and I don't need to go over the in-depth failures of this game's release, but the pure sadness that it caused the community was a pretty swift nail in the coffin, effectively killing whatever bright future there was for the Payday franchise. And the difference with this release is that games like Destiny just needed more content on release. There wasn't enough there, but the bones, the foundation was decent. However, with Payday 3, it was red alert. We need everything, systems, content, complete restructuring of almost every aspect. It needed it all. Fast forward to today, it's now been just over 2 years since Payday 3's release, and on most days the player count is usually hovering around 2,000 players, which, believe it or not, is better compared to certain months within its first year. I know, that's like insane to say, but I remember some days, not even over a year ago, where numbers would dip to sub 300. Anyways, why am I even talking about Payday 3 like this? It's been dragged through the mud enough. So hard that most mainstream media has just up and forgot about it, never to write an article or advertise it again. Well, there's been some chatter about skills being redone and the new CEO of Starbreeze officially declaring more focus on their flagship franchise, Payday, even canceling a game. I also know that a heist was recently added, maybe like 2 heists. The character Jacket is back. They also added a singular melee weapon, but those are just the recent things I've heard about. A lot more has happened over the last 2 years, but I want to talk about Payday 3 because I recently re-downloaded it to see what it's like. Because while I don't play it like I did Payday 2, I still keep my eyes on videos from Knowingly and tune into the dev updates. And I have to say, it's gonna suck to hear, but if this current version was the Payday 3 released 2 years ago, boy oh boy, people would have been much more receptive. And I think this game would have a much more promising future because the Payday 3 of today is in a far better spot. I dare to say very enjoyable. Personally, I've been enjoying the hell out of it. Now, it's no Payday 2, don't let that be the takeaway, but Payday 3 finally has a good variety of heists compared to what I think was 8 at launch. It was definitely sub 10, but now in current Payday 3, there's now like 20, I think. And there's a pretty good mix of scenery and objectives. The UI is now better. The player-to-player interactions are better. I can finally type in the pre-lobby. What a crazy concept. And there's now a button to choose if you want to play with the same heisters after you finish a heist. The new animations are great. Overall, all of these small additions have added up, and changes are now enough to give this game a bit of a refresh, especially if you haven't played since launch. Honestly, I think what the game needs now is a shift from additional heist content. It needs to have a heavier focus on additional weapons, maybe the reintroduction of the perk system, more characters, different loot to steal, those kind of things. What I'm saying is the cake is made, and right now it's just a plain vanilla cake, but the cake needs frosting, it needs sprinkles, it needs the supporting factors, the extra layers, the additional flavor profiles that will bring this product into a much prettier and sellable light. Supposedly that's coming, but there's really no telling. And I mean that seriously. Track record shows whatever they release is what they release. Nothing's guaranteed though with Payday 3. But when it comes to Payday 3, even 2 years later, there's just one thing that's always scratched my head, a consistent thought that floods my mind whenever I launch this game, and maybe someone in the comments with more knowledge can help me answer this because I'm really looking for it. But looking at things like the average salary of a game developer in Sweden, or how much it costs to license and use Unreal Engine 5, the asset creation, animation capture, studio pricing, licensing of other objects like using New York City in your game, I enter this game. I think about the absence of systems from previous games. I think about the lack of content, like the severe lack of initial content. I think about the marketing, the behind the scenes meetings, the creative directions of the map and UI, and the same thought enters my mind every single time. Where the hell did $58.6 million go? And don't give me that shit, oh, well, you're not a game developer. Hell yeah, I'm not. I don't need to know that this isn't a $50 million product. I'm just gonna throw some games in the background that roughly fit the $50 million budget range, give or take $10 million with their budgets including developmental and marketing costs. Furthermore, I'd like to know which bum sold the concept of Payday 3 to the business side of the company, because they were lying through their teeth. There is no way someone saw this product at launch and greenlit this. I mean, it was pathetic. It was just... Okay, hold on. I gotta pull myself out of this hole. I didn't mean to go down the negative rabbit hole. Again, I'm not here to obliterate this game because I enjoy it. I enjoy the game. Throwing back doubles on the weekends with my day one heister, Mr. Don, is still peak. It's dumb fun. It always garners laughs and clips. And Payday 3 does in fact have some charm. Some charm that I hope they build upon. Now look, I made this video out of love and passion because every time I boot this game up, I also think about what once was, what we heisters once had. And this will sound very backwards, but I fall in the middle between hopeful and apathetic. I do think this game has the potential to have a future, but I'm not sure what it will take to get there. The current state of the game is in a much better place, a place where I think they could confidently promote it more, and supposedly apparently there's a upcoming possible PUBG X Payday crossover. Maybe that'll do something? I guess only time will tell. Here's hoping there's a redemption arc for this beloved franchise. I'm not super optimistic if I'm being honest, but I don't know. Give it a try, give it a whirl if you own it. With that, I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks.